It is another Wednesday, and we are back with Ask Uncle Lee. So if you do have any questions that you would like to add to the segment, you would like a different perspective on or anything like that, then just put them in the comments below to one of the Ask Uncle Lee videos and I will add it to the list. Okay, let's get into today's questions. I'm Lee W. Johnson. Don't forget to subscribe or get more on Patreon. Okay, so first question is from Rowan Laverne. Hello, Uncle Lee. Hello. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind touching on a non-traditional planet for me. I know only the 7 heavenly bodies are attested, but my chart ruler in my first house is Pluto. Is there any trustworthy material on this planet? So there is actually quite a lot of mythology about Pluto, and this ties in. What you could probably do is go down the avenue of the Greek, which is usually associated with Hades, god of the underworld. Pluto is related with Hades. I think this is if you want to get to know the nature of the planetary energy itself. So I'm just trying to have a look here. If you do go into the mythology, you're going to find in the Greek it's Hades. In the Roman, it probably is Pluto. Usually is. The planet Pluto in Greek is Pluton. Was the ruler of the Greek underworld. The earlier name for the god was Hades. There we go. Okay. So you've got Pluton, who is Hades. And that will tie in with a lot of the Eleusinian mysteries because that usually ties in with Persephone. And therefore, you've got the whole story of Persephone and Hades, that love affair. I'm just trying to do some research while we're talking now. You've got an association with Hesiod as well. But yeah, anyway, so probably the best route to go down would probably be to have a look at the mythology of Hades, and specifically the mythology of Pluto. If you do go onto Wikipedia, there's some interesting stuff about Pluton or Hades in relation to Pluto itself. Otherwise, astrologically, let's just have a look if there's anything worthy of mention. Not really. No, it's Pluto in different placements and things like that. Yeah, I'm not an astrologer, so can't really help you much along those lines. Again, I mentioned this I think a couple of weeks back. If you go into go onto the channel Into the Wildwood, which is myself and Kai, we do a Friday live. If you go into any of the videos, should be any of the videos, whether they're uploaded or whether they're live, into the description, you'll find a link tree, and in there is a link to the Into the Wildwood Discord server. And if you want to ask specific questions about astrology, Kai is definitely the best person to ask in that regards. I don't really follow astrology myself, but if in regards to things like the seven heavenly bodies or the 7 celestial planets, that often gets related to the Greek versus the Roman. You also got the Navagrahas from the Hindu tradition, which doesn't extend into the other planets as well. So if you do want to get into Pluto's nature, then probably just go straight to the Greek and have a look at the god of the underworld, Hades. Should get your answers there. Alright, so I'm going to move on from that one and to this one, which is from Tilla MCE. Hello again, Lee. Hello. I'm curious to learn your opinion on the array of ciphers, scripts, and esoteric occult languages in general. They appear fairly often in images text. Do you tend to feel this was a means of concealment for security or attempts to disassociate a concept from spoken language with the aim of increasing viability through collective understanding? To expand, is there a contemporary use to being proficient in this? Do you use any such characters in your work? Is there a benefit to converting your native language to these forms during work? What do you feel is the most uncommon? Is there a detrimental effect by unknowingly using it? Meaning you copy a character, image, phrase you don't truly understand and use it in your work. I'm going to start with that one actually. A lot of people use runes in this fashion as a language. It's not a language. Was never, as far as I know, never meant to be used as a language. It's not actually a cipher. So a lot of people kind of take the runes and they assign the Latinized letters, alphabet to it, and then they start they take their English word or their English name and they then make runes out of them. Very bad idea, because when you come into runes, each individual rune holds a power of the cosmos, okay, and you are really working with that power, and if you combine powers that don't mix well, you're going to end up with a bit of an explosion. So it's not something you should be. I know I did it years and years ago. I did it, and I think everybody kind of does it because it's cool and it's there. And a lot of people still do it, but if you do not understand the proper workings of rune magic, and especially in conjunction with bind runes, people just come along and just start combining different runes to make a bind rune that they don't really understand what they're doing. It can be very bad. So starting there, we're going to totally take runes off the table here. So here we're looking at things like the celestial alphabet, the Malachim. There was passing the river. I'm trying to think of all of them. I'm trying to remember which one. There is one that a lot of people. Oh, it's the Theban alphabet, which a lot of people use, and is a good one to use. In relation to these types of alphabets and ciphers, they are. I wouldn't say they're bad to use, or it can be used in any kind of detrimental fashion, because this really is a cipher. It's taking a character and assigning it to the English alphabet, and therefore you can actually make words. Take English words and just use them use them directly. But I use, if I do or have in the past, it's usually been the Theban alphabet, which is also called the witch's alphabet. And the Theban script was first published by Johannes Trithemius in what's the book called again? Polygraphia, in the early 1500s, as far as I remember. Very good script to use, because as I said, it's just a direct cipher. You don't have to worry about combining forces or powers and creating this explosion. Why do we use them? Probably, yes. At some point, I think probably it was to hide or keep secret certain things, because it was a cipher language. It was, you had to know how to interpret the letters in order to understand what was being said. But I think what happened, the alphabets themselves, because they were used for magical purposes, probably created, I could probably say, a thought form around them, and they got power. So when you actually use these cipher scripts of cipher languages to write something, if you can create a talisman or or something like that. You might write something around the outside, and you'll change the English into the Theban alphabet, or the witch's alphabet, or whatever. It does add some power to it. And apart from that, I'm going to say it, on a psychological level, it adds something to it. It's kind of like, a magician who wants to get into the mood and will therefore undress from their mundane clothes, and they will put on their magical clothing, their robes and their jewelry, which is specifically used in ritual and in magic, and it shifts the person psychologically. And when you're using these scripts, it can definitely, because we're so accustomed to using the English alphabet. We see it every day, we read it every day, and we write it every day, and therefore yes, it is magical. I'm not saying that the common Latinized English alphabet is not magical. It can be very magical, but because it's become so common to us, shifting into something like the witch's alphabet and writing in that way does add a bit of mysticism and a bit of excitement to it. So it has that slight psychological shift to it, which I think can be very valuable. So yes, it probably was used as concealment originally, but I think that these scripts have gained their own power, and do add value to a working itself. All right, so is there a contemporary use to being proficient in this? Absolutely. Put it in your spell work. All of your workings, you can write in some other cipher, and add that mysticism and that magic to it. Do you use any such characters in your work? If I do, it is Theban script usually, or the Theban alphabet, or witch's alphabet. Is there a benefit to converting your native language to these forms during work? Yeah, if you can speak them, if it's actually one that you can speak, that's what your question appears to be like, that native language. It seems like you're saying we're moving away from the written text now into actual spoken language. There can be, depends what it is, what language it is. Because there are some ancient languages. If you go into Hebraic, the older forms of Hebraic were actually considered to be divine language. They were only spoken by the rabbis. They weren't spoken by the common people. That was, they spoke Aramaic, or maybe have that the other way around, one or the other. But Greek was also, Old Greek, ancient Greek was also very much a kind of scholarly language. It wasn't spoken by the common people. So there are some old languages that you'll find were specific to spiritual pursuits, religious pursuits, scholarly pursuits, and all such things. So yeah, sure, you can do that. What do you feel is the most common, uncommon? I would say the most common is probably, runes, but it shouldn't be used in this manner. So therefore, Theban script. I think the most, I was going to say Enochian, but I think more and more people are using Enochian now. It's just not an easy language. Oh yes, coming back to your converting your native language to these forms, you could speak Enochian, and then you see, this is the language of the angels. So this is probably a particular language which other entities besides the angelic beings that this was originally taught by. Yeah. Other entities might not understand. I don't know. I haven't really gone into actually speaking Enochian languages to various different spirits. It's probably something I'm going to be exploring in the future. I'm going to be getting more into Enochian maybe next year. That's going to be several years of deep exploration. So maybe that will come up then, but hasn't come up in the past. Never been a pursuit of mine up until this point, anyway. Yeah, is there a detrimental effect by unknowingly using it? Depends on I suppose it does depend on the language you're using. If it's something like a Theban or witch's alphabet, not really. If you are going to start combining runes, you've got to consider the possibility you may not be a rune meister, and therefore you could start combining runes that are going to cause harm to yourself and other people. Okay, and I know people don't take that into consideration, because again, runes are one of those things that are so easily accessible. So everybody goes for it. But anyway, okay. So that's that one. Let me go on to the last question for today. Also from Tilla MCE. Hello again, Lee. Hello. I am also curious about this. In times past, a seer could be held responsible for the reading. For example, revealing a negative thing in a working and something undesirable did later occur. The one who did the reading could be held liable, or at least be highly suspected of tampering. This is similar to a Schrodinger's cat type situation. Do you feel any form of divination affects the outcome because of the observation? I do. I think, and I get what you're saying, and I do agree with you. And yes, in Victorian times, this is why John Dee, I think, ran away. I know Agrippa did. As far as I remember or know, Agrippa actually made a prediction. Who was it? I can't remember. It was some royalty, and it came true, and therefore he was threatened with his life, and he was given an option to leave the country or something like that. I can't remember the exact story, but yeah, it's definitely known in the history books. So don't try and predict something for the king or queen. You could get yourself into a lot of trouble. But do you feel any form of divination affects the outcome because of the observation? Yes, I think it can. If you have a prediction of bad health, and it's a very specific prediction, maybe you are going to have heart disease in the next 5 years. What are you going to do? You're going to change your lifestyle. And that will affect the outcome because you've now changed your lifestyle. You're not following the same flow of energy that the divination foresaw, and therefore you've changed the path that you're taking, and that changes the outcome completely. You've got to remember that with divination, what happens is you are getting an idea of if you follow the same current of energy or the same path that you're on at this current moment, if you continue to follow it as it is being laid out in front of you, this is what could probably happen. And therefore, if you know what can happen, you can then change, you can step onto a different path or change the direction of that path. You can do something which shifts the current into a different direction. So yes, and this is why we use divination, is to find out what is coming up for us, and if it's something we want to avoid, we know where the roadblocks are, and therefore we can steer around them and direct our course in a different manner. So that's exactly why we use divination, and therefore we can affect the outcome. Some things are probably a bit bigger than we are able to change. There are some things which are, this is where the whole free will and fate argument gets a bit muddled and a bit difficult and confusing, and that's why everybody has their different placement on the scale type of thing. I believe there are some things which we are inevitably going to encounter. It doesn't matter what we try and do, we will encounter them because we have to. In order to get to a certain place, we've got to go through these difficult experiences. If we don't end up in that place. We end up somewhere completely different. We are a completely different person, and the entire cosmos shifts and changes because of it. And therefore, there are some things which I believe are fated, that we cannot get around, and we shouldn't. we shouldn't want to get around, because the outcome is probably a really good thing. But the only way to get there is through all those road bumps. So, it depends on the situation and all of those things. Yeah. All right. Okay, that's it for this week, I think. And join me next week. Thanks for watching. And as I said, if you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll add it to the list. Thanks and cheers. Bye-bye.